So good evening to you all. You're listening to Dylan Murray Show. I can't believe this is our final broadcast. It's absolutely flown. So first, before we go on tonight's show, I just want to give everyone a big thank you, all our guests who've helped make this first anniversary series happen. So Dave Sweetmore, Cobain Jones, Paul Bradley, Tony Long, Jay Dunn, Neil Finley, Tina Kane, Mark Kennedy, The Red Stains, and tonight's show's guest, Mike McGoldrick. So a massive thank you also, and a big shout out to my co-host, my mum, Anne O'Brien. So she's currently in Ireland with my dad, and they're celebrating their 30th anniversary. So that's a massive, massive achievement for them. So I hope they're having the best time, they deserve it. So we also, on tonight's show, have an interview with the very talented Mike McGoldrick, which is going to be extremely exciting. But first, I'm going to play a tune by Jim Adama. So Jim is one of the most incredible soul singers around, and his new track, Tell Me How You Feel, is produced by the drummer in my band, Pepper Pete, with the one and only Ryan Dyson. So this is Tell Me How You Feel.
Tell me. Tell me. Tell me. Tell me how. Tell me. Tell me. Tell me how. Tell me. Tell me. Tell me how. Tell me how you feeling. You can't walk out the door. There is nowhere that can welcome you unless it's from afar. From the bed you're seeking rest from casting doubt. So tell me how you are feeling. Mother started calling the coffin as a warning. Don't visit, all will be fine. Sinking to your stomach, risking it for comfort. A feeling good to show no signs. Tell me how you feeling. Ah, tell me how you feeling. Tell me, tell me, tell me how, tell me how, tell me, tell me, tell me how, tell me how. Sober in the morning, slipping to a falling, singled out in my own mind. Nothing can prepare for personal despair. Don't panic, it'll work out right. Yeah, mother started calling a coffin as a warning. Don't visit, all will be fine. Sinking to your stomach, risking it for comfort. A feeling good to show no signs. Tell me how you feeling. Ah, tell me how you're feeling. Ah, tell me how you're feeling. You can't walk out the door. There is nowhere that can welcome you unless it's from afar. From the bed you're seeking rest from casting doubt. So tell me how you are feeling. Clock in and then lock out. Clock in and then lock out. Tell me how you're feeling. Clock in. Tell me how. Tell me. Tell me. Tell me. Tell me how you feeling. Tell me how.
So you can follow Jim on Facebook, you can buy the track on Bandcamp. And so the next interview we have is with legendary Mike McGoldrick. So we're lucky to also have a video straight after with him playing with his three nieces, Marie, Catherine and Kira. This is incredible. I hope you enjoy this. Mike, how are you?
Great, Fidelma, great to be on the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honour to have you on.
Well, it's an honour to be on the Del and Murray show, you know. Heard all about it from my mum and dad.
Oh, great. And so tell us then about your kind of history. So you grew up in Manchester.
Yeah, and I'm Mike McGoldrick. I play the wooden flute, I play the uilleann pipes, I play the guitar. But first instrument I ever started on was the drums. I was a drummer when I started, and I used to go to music lessons and play in the Ceilidh band. And then I went from the drums to the tin whistle by accident, really, because it was me two sisters that were playing tin whistles. And one day, I think I heard that the tunes that they were practicing that many times. I remember one day saying to my older sister, I can play that tune that I've been practicing the whistle on the stairs, and I can play that tune that you are playing. And I was about 8, I think I was, and she was like, let's have a listen. And she said, no, you can't, or something like that. And I says, and then I played it, and that was a kind of a start of where I am now. I started playing music, and then I taught, my dad heard me. Brendan could play the whistle. And Mum took us to music every week. And we went to these music lessons, and at music lessons I met all my mates, there's Stanley and Jed Stenson and Angela Rusher and Debbie Garvey and Andrew Dine and Grace Kelly, all them people. We were all part of the scene. And when we were in our teenagers days, playing in Manchester, there was a thing called Kjolfas, which was an organisation for Irish music. And that brought us all over the place to different competitions, which are called flars. And you compete in these competitions. And if you get first, second or third, you qualify to the next round. And the next round, and if you got first or second, you qualify to the final, the massive All-Ireland Championship in Ireland. And that was part of our growing up, really. We used to take part in these competitions, and that was the whole sort of journey through Kjolfas and playing music and learning music at home until we were around sort of 16. Some gave it up then and some carried on. I carried on, and I had a real passion for it. I really liked the music. I love listening to records, and I was inspired really from Dad's record collection to my brother's record collection. So there's a mixture of, growing up in Manchester, my brother was into loads of different rock bands as well as Dad's record collection of folk music. And a mixture of the two has always sort of been in my head, coming from Manchester and then having Irish roots and loving the traditional stuff. So when I was about, I don't know, probably 16, 17, 18, I started going to a record shop on Deansgate called Decoy Records. Don't know if you ever went to it. And that was the best. It really opened up so much for me, because I used to go in there and all these imports coming from America. There'd be Irish bands and Scottish bands, but they'd be coming in from an American record label. It was really interesting. It's like I was buying these records of, say, Altan, Dervish and Capercaillie, but they were from they were signed to an American label at the time. And anyway, the gentleman in the shop, I always remember, he played stuff for me. He'd say, I think you might be interested in this. He knew I played a bit of whistle and flute. So he used to play these vinyl, he used to put these records on and say, this is a new band. So I discovered loads of bands through him and going to the record shop. And then that opened up more music for Delmic. It sort of went from the Irish folk thing to more American folk thing, to more sort of bluegrass and world music and pretty much everything. And then downstairs of the shop, Decoy Records, was jazz. So, and I didn't really grow up with jazz. So then I used to venture into the jazz sort of world. And then I used to sort of buy a record to recommend something that might be world music or folk influence, sort of jazz stuff. And then I started listening to Jan Garbarek, a Norwegian sax player, and it's digging deep. And then you just listen to music all the time.
That's incredible. Like, I had no idea about the shop and the rest of it. Like,
I used to go every week and buy a new record one a week, or And
That's
then,
why you're
funny story, you know me dad really well.
Yeah.
Fidelma.
He's a
Well,
bit
I
now.
always remember I'd come home and I'd put a record on and I'd be listening to it on, and you know, I don't know if you do this, you know, put headphones on and you actually fall asleep listening to music. Yeah. And I always remember my dad, you know, he'd be getting up for work at say 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be fucking lying on the carpet with my headphones on, and he'd just give me a kick and he'd say, "Up to bed." I think he used to say, I'm listening to this, I'm listening to this. We fast asleep.
And so tell us about the early days in Toss the Feathers. So how you guys all started playing music together.
Well, that came around, again, I was around mum and dad, used to take us to all the sessions, which was great. So there was pubs in Rusholme called the Gardener's Arms. I used to go there when I was 12 and 13, and Tony Howley used to play in a great flute player, Tony, saxophone player. And then the Clarence, where Peter Carberry, Mick Rodden, and a lot of other musicians. I was still only around 14, 15, but I think because I was the youngest in the family and I was interested in music, they used to just bring me along to the pub. And then if they seen me, the musicians that were playing, they would say, "Do you want to get up for a tune?" And you know, it was a huge honour really to get a chance at such a young age to get on stage with brilliant musicians who were inspiring and doing that for a lot longer than I was, you know, and I learned a lot from them. So it was the Clarence days when I was around 15, and getting up for a tune with Pete Carberry, Angela Usher was around at that time, Debbie Garvey. And then Peter started playing gigs up in Stockport in a small bar called the Bridge. I think it was called the Bridgewater in Stockport. And we used to go up there, and then there was this poet that used to come down. He used to do a little spot for about 10 minutes called Lem Cece, Manchester poet. And he was brilliant. He'd do a little bit. This is like 1987, 1988 or something like that. And then Pete I think he just came round to our house one evening, and we had a little band rehearsal. And then Eddie Sheen came over from Ireland, and then we met Eddie one night in a pub, and it happened pretty quick. You know, the next thing we were a little band, and we did a residency out in Eccles, and then it went from just like a small folk group to adding Angela's brother on drums and Dave Smiley on bass guitar and Des Donnelly on fiddle and Chris Cormack. There was a lot of different band members, Sean Regan, different band members passed through at the time. And we went from playing the small social club down in Eccles to selling out the Apollo, you know, over a spread of like 10 years or whatever. Did a lot of touring with them in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and then the scene for Fidelma back in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, I don't think we were in it. We played every night of the week. We played every Monday night in the 32 Club, every Thursday night in Shakers in Heaton, Mersey. Friday night we'd play somewhere like St Brendan's. Saturday night would be could be at St Richard's, Our Ladies, St Mary's, all them Irish social clubs, St Kentigern's. And then on a Sunday we'd play in St Edward's in Rusholme. So, and then Monday start again.
That's mad.
You know, it was a great scene. It was a brilliant scene, and we've been playing to.
So much fun, and you must have learned so much as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, these were all. To be honest, I was more into just the crack. Yeah, I was doing it for the crack, and I had a day job at the time. I was working during the day, and I just played music in the evening. But I just like the whole playing music was something I love doing, and you're playing for people, and I like rehearsing and working out new songs and working out new tunes and all that. It's all a big package, but it was all like,
it's incredible.
It was all good to me. Yeah.
It's so inspiring, especially for young musicians. I'm not young anymore, but I was young once. And
give over.
But knowing people like yourself, like Des and Angela Usher, and like everybody, it really inspires you from a young age to see that you're still helping younger musicians still play.
Well, I mean, during this lockdown, I've been really enjoying doing a few online lessons. That's been fun. And doing these little videos with my nieces, Kath and Kieran McGoldrick and Mairead Hussey, who you were in a band with for a long time. And we've been doing these. And since I started one with them, I posted it, and then people were saying, you know, oh, we'll do one together. So I did more than that, and I've been doing one a week now for Joe's Castley's program, and people have been inviting me to join them on their videos. And yeah, it's great that, you know, Catherine and Kira and the talent of the younger musicians that you see. It's just incredible.
I think also because they're going on stage with you, as you were when you were younger. You were on stage at a very young age, and I think for them to be on stage at such a young age as well as they have been, same with Ray, and that kind of buzz.
I definitely agree with you, because as I just said earlier, I was honoured to get on stage and play a tune with Tony Howley or Pete Carberry, or even on the Irish country scene, there'd be a band and they'd get me up as a little guest spot, you know, during the second half of their show or something. And I always think it helped me become the musician I am, because I was playing with, and I was accepted, and I looked up to them. And, you know, they give me a chance and they give me opportunity to join them on stage and play, and they didn't look down on me, or if anything, it was just total encouragement. And I think if you nurture and encourage in that way, and show that, you know, it's okay to, you know, just not take yourself too seriously and get everybody involved. That's the key to it, is don't take yourself too seriously, get everybody involved, and you know, everybody goes away after having a good experience.
Yeah, completely. And your career has just completely gone crazy since your younger days.
It has. Yeah, I mean, I suppose Toss the Feathers has been split now for about 25 years, I suppose. Very easy. More. And after that, I was kind of, I went in for this is the general knowledge test, trying to remember with a brain like mine. What did I do after Toss the Feathers?
BBC.
I did a Young Musician of the Year. Yeah, that's what I did. I went in for that competition. That was a friend. I went to see two brilliant musicians in a small folk club in Ladybarn. It was the White Swan Folk Club. And I saw these two musicians just doing a gig. And I hadn't been to that many folk clubs. I've been doing Toss the Feathers gigs all over the world and stuff, but I hadn't really zoned in on that sort of the folk world, as in folk gigs. And I saw two brilliant musicians, Ian Carr playing guitar and Karen Tweed on the accordion. And I couldn't get over, everybody was just, you could hear a pin drop, and everybody was there listening and respecting the music, where we were used to rowdy crowds, jumping up and down, pouring pints over their heads, having a laugh, shouting, screaming, you know. And it was like, oh, this is brilliant, you know, this is brilliant. Because I did a lot of that at home, just with my headphones on, listening and respecting music, you know. And I thought, I'd love to do a gig like this. And then I went, the organizer of that folk club said to me, why don't you go in for the Young Musician, Folk Musician of the Year back in 1994, I think it was. And I was like, well, what do you do? And he says, well, just compile a tape together of, say, 4 or 5 of your favourite tunes, put it on a cassette and send it in. And anyway, cut a long story short, I did that, got through to the heats and got through to the final, and I was honoured to have won it. And what that certainly did was open doors to get into other gigs and festivals, because up to that point, Michael McGoldrick was a member of a band, and then I was going as a soloist. So then I just won the BBC, and that was kind of like an opener for, you know, people say, oh yeah, we'll have him because he was the Folk Musician of the Year. Yeah, I heard him on the programme, heard him on the radio. Get to play at a few gigs. And then it was me in a sleeping bag and driving around up and down the country, playing folk clubs all over the place, doing a little slot in between the local floor singer and somebody else, which was an experience in itself. That was a way of life. It was brilliant. I loved it. That's how I met the lads out of Fluke. That's how I met the Kate Rusbys of the world, and all, it was all through that folk festival scene, you know. So that leads me on to that sort of Kate Rusby. I then joined Kate's band and played on all the records, and became really good friends with John McCusker, who I work with to this day. I've been working with John for the last, I don't know, now 15 years or more, with Transatlantic Sessions and Kate stuff early on, Heidi Talbot and Mark Knopfler. And that's, I suppose, what I became then was more like a freelance session player, or whatever you call it. You know, I'd play like finish a tour or do gigs, and then somebody would ring you and say, do you want to do a gig, or do you want to play, or do you want to play on our record? And I think word of mouth, I suppose, because do you know what? I don't even have a website. I've never had one.
Do you not
to
have
this
a
day.
website? No way.
I've never had one. No, I've never had a website. I only got Facebook last month or something, about 2 months ago.
Well, I was surprised when I saw you on Facebook because I never even knew, and I was like, oh.
I know. It was something. I think it was my nieces, and you know, they were saying you need to post your gigs and post your tunes and let people hear you. And I was like, well, I've got this far without it. I don't really. And then I was like, okay, join the modern world. Yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying doing that now. I'm glad I've done it because, you know, I'm loving sharing the tunes with my nieces and with friends and that.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Like, your career is just so inspiring, as you said, just from a young boy to exactly what's happened, from winning the BBC to working with Really Lunacer, Kate, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, there's other bands now. It's like, I think I was in Kate Busby's bands, and then I joined Lunacer. Yeah. And then I joined Afro Celt Sound System. Cool. And I joined Kappa Kaili. And so, and that was it. And I was in Fluke. Yeah. So there was like 4 bands to juggle. And it was working fine because, you know, that was good fun. You know, there wasn't that many gigs, the odd gig here and there. There were more festivals. You play at a couple of festivals over the summer and stuff. But different lineups changed and different people's ideas changed. And I think at the time, Kappa Kaili was the band that I stuck with. And I'm still a member of Kappa Kaili. I've been with them since 1998. Yeah. Nearly 21 years I've been playing with them. They're a Scottish band. Yeah. With beautiful singer Karen Matheson, who sings in Scots Gaelic, and you probably see her on Alba and programs like that. She's an ambassador for Scots Gaelic music. But brilliant band, great musicians. And that's the funny thing is, I used to buy their records from Decoy Records and listen to them. I know. I used to buy their records and play them, and now I'm in the band and playing with them. So,
but because everything had probably happened in such a whirlwind, you probably didn't even notice that all of a sudden. It must have been kind of like you're on stage with these people and you're like, what? Like, do you know what I mean?
Do you know? I don't think I never think back on things like you're asking me these questions. It's me trying to remember. Like,
yeah.
I never really think back on things. I just think, what's the next thing to do? I'm always I'm that kind of a person going, right, what's the next thing, you know, like during lockdown now I've written a book of tunes, you know, I've compiled a book of tunes. So I've got 100 of my compositions. I'm not going to release the 100, I'll just do a book of 50 compositions, and I'll put a CD with it. I'll record a tune with it and the accompaniment with it, and put all the chords in it and put everything with it, and then get some nice pictures from the days of Tattered Feathers and all the band, you know, just put a collage of stuff together, and, you know, growing up, pictures of when I was playing in the Kaili band when I was a kid to what I'm doing now. Yeah, it's just another thing, keeping busy. Sanding the stairs, painting and decorating, writing a book.
It's fine. Catching roots when you're back to violin.
Writing a book, recording music, playing tunes.
Yeah. But Mike, tell me as well. So you're not always just playing with bands. You've also had a couple of your own solo albums as well.
Do you know I've had 5 solo albums, and this year was 20 years of Fused, which was
amazing.
An exciting time because I made that record, and it was like kind of a cross. It was an experimental album, I suppose you could call it, for the folk, for folk stuff. It was Irish music mixed with a heavy world influence, so there would be Indian influence of Indian tabla, to dub bass lines, to funk Tower of Power brass section lines, to slow ambient trad with a harmonium and a acoustic guitar picking. So it was a real, I don't know, at the time, it was just music I enjoyed recording. That's the gospel truth. It was like, I went in without thinking too much about tracks. I just went in and I said, let's do this. This is an idea for this one. This is an idea for this one. And we just enjoyed making it. If people liked it, it was a bonus. You know, I wasn't making it for other people. was making the record for
Really?
me back then, and that was 20 years ago. And this year I had a load of gigs to celebrate 20 years of Fused. And we were supposed to go to Denmark, and we were supposed to go to Spain, and we were supposed to play in the Celtic region of France, in Brittany, northwest France. We were supposed to play up in the Hebrides at the Celtic Festival, Hebcel. We were supposed to play in English folk festivals, and all this has been rescheduled for 2021. So a bit disappointing, but you've got.
I should have wasted.
No, well, I'll have to just call it Fused 21 instead of Fused 20. Got a better ring to it.
I know, exactly. Everyone will be waiting for it anyway, eagerly. We'll have to get down to
that. I made an album 2 years ago, another solo one, which was called Arc, which is Aidan, Rory, and Cora, the kids' names. That's what it stands for. And that's a similar one, less progressive, more, I suppose, more traditional, but with a more cinematic feel. I was trying to write stuff that would be more like maybe used and picked up by TV and soundtrack stuff. So it's got nice, string quartet on it and different things like, different styles, bit of an African feel to it, of influenced by Fatoumata Diawara. She's an amazing African singer. And then I was also supposed to be touring with John Doyle and John McCusker, because we just released an album which is called Reed in the Storm. The reed that bends in the storm. In fact, I have it here. This one.
Cool.
The reed that bends in the storm. And we were supposed to. That's John Doyle, who's lives in Asheville, North Carolina. He's a great guitarist. John McCusker, who's a producer, and amazing fiddle player, multi-instrumentalist. And we go out as a trio, and we do gigs together. And unfortunately, they're rescheduled again for 2021.
21, the big year.
It's a big year in 2021. Yeah, roll on 2021. I hope so.
You'll be
being optimistic anyway.
Huh?
It's got to be optimistic and stay positive.
Completely. And then let me ask, I should know this, but Morning Rory, was that your first
Morning Rory?
album?
It was my very first album in 1995. That was around the time of I won the BBC Folk Awards, and the next step was I was playing the folk clubs and driving around and getting trains and carrying a sleeping bag and a set of pipes and flutes, was to have a CD. So the woman from that folk club borrowed me the money, because I didn't have any money. My son was just born, Rory. And I was like, right, I need to do something. And so I need to make an album to get out there and put myself out there and provide for Rory and Anna. And so I borrowed the money from the woman from the folk club, and I went to Kappa Cayley's recording studio. I rang them up, and I actually spoke to the producer of that album, and he invited me up to their studio. That's what happened. So I recorded the album in Glasgow. I slept under the mixing desk for a week. Yeah.
Rock and roll, baby.
I recorded during the day. And then got in my sleeping bag at night, and I woke up in the day and I carried on recording. I used to tuck under the mixing desk. It was a bit of a shock when the other musicians arrived to play on it, and they were like, "Where's the hotel where we're staying?" And I went, "Here." And they were like, "Where?" And I was like, "There, there. Pick your choice. You can have that corner." And anyway, luckily we were all mates, and nobody fell out with me. And I made that album, Morning Rory. Bit of a parody of Oasis' Morning Glory for a bit of a laugh. And
that's what I was speaking about before, like Manchester influences and all.
I mean, I was a massive fan. I went to see the Stone Roses in the International. I was a Happy Mondays fan. Later on I got into the Morrissey and Johnny Marr. What a guitarist. I like guitarists, I love guitarists. So, Stone Roses guitarist is brilliant. And I was a Led Zeppelin fan, but they're not Manchester. But it's in Manchester bands. I suppose the Stone Roses were my favourite. And, just trying to think of, there's not certain songs that jump out, but just John Squire's guitar playing, it's like, who's out there to touch him, really? It's just, it's just, every riff he plays, every line he plays, it's just so memorable, and like, it's just an instant hook. It's like,
Yeah, it's cool.
you
I
know,
think that's what's so inspiring about living in Manchester now, is having this massive big like backlog of musicians and bands who've done so well and they only live like down the road from you. Do you not now, but they did. Do you know what I mean? And walking down the road, you know they were just born there and stuff. It's mad.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of talent around. If it's not, you know, from musicians to sports people, it's got everything, you know, to music venues, to theatres, to restaurants, to everything, and it's all on our doorstep. It's just there, you know. You can go anywhere. You can do anything in Manchester.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've doing during the lockdown, and I suppose I can speak on behalf of probably lots of people. I was getting out walking a lot more.
Yeah.
And I've just enjoyed. I didn't even realise where I live. You know, you've got the Stretford, the Bridgewater Canal.
Yeah.
And you've got Stretford Meadows. Oh, amazing nature, amazing place. You know, you just get onto the canal, and you can walk. Go that way, you go to Altrincham. Go that way, you go into town. Go that way, you go out to Worsley.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you walk for 13 kilometres and put your earphones in, and it's very, very sit and relax, very peaceful, and you don't see anybody. You're social distancing. It's all, you know. I was doing this for the last 10 weeks. It's been.
I'm sure
it's
also
been good
in a way, it's a nice break for you. Seeing, I think. Did you when you were touring with Mark Knopfler, did it just get shut down before, or did you finish the tour?
No. That was last year.
Okay.
So we got the whole tour done last year. The tour that finished.
Well.
Yeah. So I mean, I was away a lot last year.
Yeah.
I was away probably for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months of the year. I was away. So yeah, I'm really enjoying being at home for a change.
Yeah, a bit peace and quiet and seeing the family and everybody.
Exactly. And do all that work I was just saying. You know.
All the DIY that needs doing.
If you saw me about half an hour ago covered in sawdust, gets in your eye, it's in your eyes and your ears and everywhere.
Don't worry. It's all fun. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you met Mark Knopfler then.
Well, as the story goes, John McCusker and myself were on a record. He was listening to the record. Well, apparently he plays the record when he's having his dinner with his wife.
Aww.
And he turned around and he said, them musicians have play with an old man's soul. This is how he says, he introduces that when he plays this. They play with an old man's soul, and I'd like to play some music with them. So John went off and started playing with him. And then when John had a break because his wife was pregnant, I went in, and then I covered a load of gigs out in America back in 2010.
Yeah.
And then I thought that was it. I was just doing a little slot with him and playing a few gigs with him. And he kept us on. He just says, I want you to carry on. You know, John came back when the baby was 5 or 6, 7 weeks old. And then the two of us, me and John, carried on that tour. And that was back in 2011 or 2010, I think. And right up to last year, we were touring on, and we've played on every album he's made since 2010. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, it's amazing! It's a real honour. And do you know what you think when you're playing like such different size venues? You know, from playing in the Bridgewater to the Band on the Wall to Manchester venues, the Venue, Gorilla, whatever, to the GMEX, you know, to the Manchester Evening News Arena, from O'Shea's to St Kent's, you know, it doesn't really matter. It's all down to the music you're playing. That's the bottom line of it, for me. You know, it could be 10 people or 10,000 people, you know, whoever I'm working with. It's all about enjoying the music that you're playing and being challenged and getting something out of it. If you don't get anything out of it, there's no point. But there's something that you go back to when you get the chance to play these amazing gigs and travel amazing places and amazing cities, and is what I was just talking about before, is when you were younger and when you started out. And you know, you never forget about, you know, we didn't have much money when I was growing up, but my dad invested in a really expensive wood flute.
Yeah.
You know, he got me a wooden flute when I was about 15, 16. And every week, you know, my mum would take us on the bus to music every week. Doesn't matter whether it was raining, it was snowing. You know, she got that number 42 bus, and she took us every week to music. And when you're playing, you never forget that. You know, you think, this is, you know, thanks to them, you know, thanks to my mum and dad for doing, buying the instruments that they couldn't really afford, to encourage you to play, to taking you to music. And then you think, I'm glad I did all that practicing. I used to play 5 hours a day when I was, but not forced to practice. It was just a thing I like doing. I used to put my favourite albums on and learn tunes off it and play along to it. And I suppose you could call that practicing, but I'd do that for 4 or 5 hours. And they're the things that you remember when you're playing them bigger shows, or you're doing something you think, well, it was worth it, and I'm glad I'm in this position, and then you're honoured to be playing music with such legends who have produced albums that you grew up listening to, and they've played on more records and played hot licks on more records and all this sort of stuff than you can imagine. The piano players from Florida, the guitarist is from Nashville, the drummers from top session drummer from London. There's all these different musicians who you're surrounded with. The sax player plays with Kylie Minogue on a tour, then he's doing something else. You're surrounded by top session players, as I call it. So I feel very honoured. And then you've got Mark Knopfler in the middle, who's very humble, who loves music, who loves introducing the uilleann pipes and the wood flute and the fiddle and the low whistles and the tin whistles into his music. He loves that element coming into his music. He's a fan of country music, he's a fan of folk music, he's a fan, and he's just got a great way of writing songs and adding these instruments in, influence, and you feel part of a band when you're playing it. You don't feel like you're just part of a small thing in and out. You're on stage for the whole gig, and it's a great thing. Love it.
Amazing. But that's why you've succeeded, because you've been so grounded and you've not got so wound up in the whole hype of being such a successful musician, I imagine. And
I think you've got to be grounded. I think that's the key. Don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah. And just remember, if you're not having fun, don't do it. It's all about being creative and getting something out of it. And I get a lot out of it. I just get a lot out of just playing music, heading down to the station in Didsbury on a Wednesday night and playing a few tunes. Just as much as you would to play anywhere. Social scene, talking to people, meeting people, playing music. And that goes back to being a kid, why I was doing it in the first place, because it was fun, a bit of crack.
Completely. And I think what's amazing is when I go to the station, I play in session, or whenever anyone goes in, whenever you're sitting there, I remember when I was younger and I was so nervous about playing a tune, and you'd always encourage everyone to play, and you'd be like, oh, come on, just play this. And you wouldn't play, and you'd kind of let everyone just join in, and then you'd start and let them play their own tunes, and then you'd join in with somebody else. Do you know what I mean? And that's such a lovely quality, Mike.
Well, thanks a lot, Fidelma, because if you don't have that, I mean, a session can be a kind of a strange place if you don't have that openness. Yeah. And if somebody comes in and they are, like you just described, I'm shy, or you didn't want to play, and you're thinking, if I got that encouragement when I was younger, which I did, come on, join us for a tune, play a tune, it really, really helped. When I left the pub, I thought, I want to go back and do that again. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Not being there where you don't know any of the tunes and they're having a jam, but they're not really including you. You can sort of feel left out. Yeah. And I suppose, I've just been grounded from a young age, and that's kind of in my genes. Like Brendan, I learned everything from him anyway.
I love him.
Top of the range.
Top of the range.
Top of the range.
Him and my mum are like a comedy show together.
Oh yeah.
So funny. And also, we were speaking before about younger musicians, and also with the session and stuff, how to inspire them and stuff. But I think also with what you do and helping younger musicians to come forward and to play, it's also going to help Irish trad and Irish music keep itself going.
Oh, definitely. I mean, looking around at the work Angela Rusher does, the teaching, and when she does a show, she can bring 30 kids from a school to play in Cheltenham Irish Club or St. Kentigern's. And you think, well, there you go. I mean, we did a project a long time ago called In Safe Hands. Well, it's in safe hands. That's just the way of saying it. It's, there's some brilliant musicians. I mean, Catherine and Kira are now teenagers. They're more, 21, I think Catherine is, in 19.
I'm sorry, just for those who don't know, who's Catherine and Kira?
McGoldrick, my nieces. Yeah. I always refer, because I think of them when you're talking about
For someone who
When
might-
you talk about the younger ones, you were the younger ones, but it's them now.
I know.
I always think of you and Mairead as the younger ones.
Comparison to them now.
I can't say that anymore. The younger ones, Fidelma and Mairead, it's Catherine and Kira. It's gone down another generation. And yeah, it's, you know, the Donnellys. You've got the Donnelly kids. They're amazing players. The Hennigans.
Yeah.
God, you've got loads of great young players. And it's lovely to see that, you know, I had a song with Mary Howley's daughter, Maeve. She's singing, playing guitar, playing piano, doing great things. So it'll keep traditional music healthy. And I'm sure they're doing the same things. The parents are friends of mine. They're taking the kids to the sessions, to the competitions, to the flowers, to that, and to the festivals. And you know, they all head off to Ennis Trad Festival in November, and they go to Milltown Malby, and they go to Cambridge Folk Festival, and I think they're having lots of fun with it, you know.
But I think what's very different about Irish trad and Irish music and growing up is, you know, with Angie and Desi and all the lads,
Yeah.
have this sense of, even you might go anywhere in the world, but you always come back together. Whenever you see each other, it's almost like a family.
Oh, and I know Manchester's my home, and I love Manchester, and Manchester's been good for me. You know, my kids went to school here, and my wife's from Manchester, and you know, everything. My family are here. That's the main thing. That's where I'm rooted, is Manchester.
Yeah.
You know, I can come back off a tour and go and play a tune with Des, and it's as if we never stop playing.
Yeah.
We can just bounce back straight away, like telepathic. Like you can actually, it makes me laugh because you can actually do a variation at the same time as I would do a variation. And I'm like, we haven't played a tune for a year, and we can do the same thing at the same time. I suppose that goes back to playing loads and loads together. And me and Des made an album called The Dog in the Fog, and that was kind of us going back to where we've first started, where we were rooted in traditional music. So we don't have there's no trickery with, like, there's not any accompaniment or anything like that. It's just very back to jigs and reels, just fiddle and flute. And anyway, he sent me something there recently. We've had rave reviews about it. People love it, and it's refreshing to hear it because there's so much contemporary style music these days. It's a breath of fresh air to hear something going back to the old way, you know. So that's nice to hear.
And Mike, just before we finish, so we're going to play a video next.
Yeah.
Of you, Mairead, Catherine, and Kira.
And Kira.
A very talented family.
Yeah. We're going to play a set of reels. We're going to play Gormans and the Abbey reel, and a tune in the middle, which was composed by a famous composer called Paddy O'Brien, who was an accordion player from Tipperary. So, yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
Nice one.
Mike, it's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thanks for having me.
See you very soon.
Okay, you take care.
Pleasure.
See you down the station.
See you in the station very shortly with Brandon.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So talking of BBC Folk Awards being a launching pad for some of the best musicians around, our next track is by the incredible Kieran Elgar and Greg Russell. Stayed joined Voices in 2011 and went on to win a BBC Radio Young Folk Awards before winning an Horizon Award. So they've toured Europe and have released 3 studio albums together. This is their incredible track.
Born in September, sat under the tree. She read all the books, she was different from me. When she came to my attention, I watched her each day. The Queen of Old England, my heart stole away. When they told her the news, she watched the leaf fall. Her father, she'd loved him, but most of all, she promised to be different and hear the people call for Edward and Mary, who'd ruined it all. I danced at her court, and I watched her smile to the new tunes from Europe, brought home with the piles of gold and of silver. She knighted them gay, the pirates of England, my queen stole away. And we counselled her, and I gave sound advice, but her heart over my country was my only vice. I was the minority against the old dog. When the young man from Paris, he came through the door, I knew what he wanted, I'd seen his like before. He was charming and handsome, I watched his courtly ways. Come lads, for favour, I'll march you to Spain. I was shadowed by downfall, but she gave me hope. I was her favourite and we danced through the ropes. But when I did fall, her counsel came down, her hopes with her lover, and the fall of her crown. Her hopes with her lover, and the fall of her crown. Her hopes with her lover, and the fall of her crown.
So that was Kieran Elgar and Greg Russell and their track, The Queen's Lover. Brilliant track. And so the last track we're going to finish off with is in honour of Mike McGoldrick and our roots in the show. So this is the title track by the incredible Mike McGoldrick, John McCusker and John Doyle, taken from their amazing album, The Wishing Tree. So thank you so much to everybody for all the support you've shown us over the last year, for the support during the series of shows. And next time we'll be seeing you in the studio. Thank you so much, and we'll see you within Show FM.